Hello everyone, welcome back to the Jimin Love channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Enjoy watching. Here is a compelling story about Jimin designed to hook the reader right from the start. The shadow on the mirror. The practice room was quiet, save for the rhythmic squeak of sneakers against polished wood and the heavy sound of breathing. It was 3 a.m. While the rest of the world slept, Park Jimin stood before the floor-to-ceiling mirror, drenched in sweat, repeating the exact same 4-second dance move for the 100th time. To anyone watching, the movement was already flawless, a breathtaking blend of contemporary grace and sharp, hip-hop precision that seemed to defy gravity. But to Jimin, it wasn't enough. He wasn't just performing a routine. He was searching for a feeling. Growing up in Busan, Jimin had always moved differently. When he danced, it wasn't just physical. It was as if he were painting emotions in the air. Yet when he joined one of the biggest entertainment companies in Seoul, the pressure was suffocating. Doubts whispered in his ear every night. Are you good enough? Do you belong here? Instead of breaking, Jimin turned those doubts into fuel. He became the definition of relentless discipline. He was the first to arrive at practice and the last to leave, pushing his body to its absolute limits. Then came the moment that changed everything. It was during a live stadium concert. Thousands of lights blazed like a galaxy of blue and purple stars, and the deafening roar of the crowd echoed off the walls. As the intro to his solo stage began, the arena fell dead silent. Jimin stepped into the spotlight blindfolded. The moment the music started, the world paused. Every spin was fluid, every leap weightless, every subtle motion charged with raw, unfiltered emotion. He wasn't just moving to the music, he was the music. In 3 minutes, he captivated millions across the globe, transcending language, culture, and borders. People who had never listened to K-pop before found themselves holding their breath, unable to look away. Offstage, Jimin remained soft-spoken, warm, and fiercely caring toward his teammates and fans. But the moment the lights hit him, a quiet storm wakes up inside. What makes Jimin truly irresistible isn't just his mesmerizing talent, it's the vulnerability behind it. Behind every effortless movement lies years of sweat, silent struggles, and an unwavering passion that leaves a piece of his soul on every stage he touches. And once you watch him dance, even just for a second, you can never unsee it. Beyond the spotlight, as the final note faded into the stadium air, Jimin stood frozen in the center of the stage, chest heaving, sweat glistening under the harsh purple lights. He slowly removed the blindfold for a fraction of a second. Absolute silence hung over the 60,000-seat arena. Then the crowd erupted. A wave of deafening cheers roared through the stadium, so loud it vibrated through the floorboards beneath his feet. Millions watching the live stream across the globe flooded social media, making his name trend part 1 worldwide within seconds. Viewers who had randomly stumbled onto the stream, people who didn't even know his name minutes ago, were left staring at their screens, mesmerized. Who is he? Backstage, as the adrenaline slowly ebbed away, the larger-than-life performer vanished. In his place stood the real Park Jimin, tired, humble, and leaning heavily against the corridor wall. His bandmates rushed over, throwing their arms around him, drowning him in praise. Jimin just offered his signature warm eye smile, bowing his head in quiet gratitude. Yet even after delivering a performance that redefined stage presence, his mind was already rewinding the tapes. Did I land that second turn softly enough? He murmured to himself, watching a recording on his phone in the dressing room while a stylist dried his hair. I can do it better next time. That relentless drive was his superpower, but it was also his heaviest burden. A few months later, the world changed. The stadiums went dark, and the roar of the crowds was replaced by quiet, empty rooms. For an artist who lived on the energy of the stage, the sudden silence was deafening. Many would have faded into the background. Instead, Jimin retreated into the studio. Without the bright lights or massive production, he stripped away the armor. He began putting his rawest thoughts into lyrics, crafting melodies that spoke of loneliness, growth, and hope. He showed the world that he wasn't just a master of movement, but an artist with a story that demanded to be heard. When he finally released his own music, it wasn't just about topping charts, though it broke records globally. It was about connection. Viewers and listeners didn't just watch him. They felt understood by him. Whether he's floating across a massive stage like a quiet storm, or sitting on a floor live streaming with a soft, comforting smile just to check on his fans, Jimin possesses a rare duality. He is both unreachable art and comforting warmth, an unstoppable force and a gentle soul. And as the lights slowly turn back on for his next chapter, one thing is certain: the world is still watching, waiting to see what magic he paints next. The unwritten canvas. The silence of the dressing room felt different this time. It wasn't the heavy, uncertain quiet of the past. It was the calm before a new dawn. Outside the high-rise studio in Seoul, the city glittered under the midnight sky. Jimin sat at a grand piano, his fingers lightly brushing the keys. No massive arena, no blindfolds, no flashbulbs, just a single golden warm light shining down on him. He struck a chord. The sound echoed softly off the acoustic panels, delicate yet deep. Over the years, people had tried to label him the modern dancer, the charismatic idol, the global record breaker. But as he sang a quiet melody into the studio microphone, those labels peeled away. What was left was simply a storyteller who used every fiber of his being to communicate standard truths about being human. Love, fear, resilience, and belonging. Suddenly his phone buzzed on the piano. A notification popped up, short video clip sent by a fan from halfway across the world. In the video, a young student in a cramped bedroom was practicing the exact choreography Jimin had performed years ago. They stumbled, paused, laughed, and tried again with fierce determination. Underneath the video, the caption read, "Because he never gave up, I won't either." Jimin smiled, a soft, genuine expression that reached his eyes. This was the hidden thread that connected him to millions. It was never just about perfection or the roar of 60,000 people. It was about the kid in a small room somewhere who felt a little less alone because of a song he sang or a dance he poured his heart into. He stood up, stretched his shoulders, and walked over to the center of the wooden floor. The music he had been composing started playing through the studio speakers, a hauntingly beautiful track that blended delicate orchestral strings with a deep, pulsing modern beat. He closed his eyes. The world outside dissolved. With a deep breath, Jimin moved. His body carved through the air with an elegance that seemed almost otherworldly, yet grounded by an undeniable human intensity. Every turn was sharper, every reach more expressive than ever before. He wasn't dancing to prove anything to the world anymore. He was dancing because it was his truest form of breathing. The camera on the tripod in the corner of the room clicked, recording every second of the practice. In a few hours, a snippet of this raw, unedited moment would be shared with the world, and millions of screens would light up in the dark, capturing the hearts of old fans and striking awe into total strangers all over again. Because when Park Jimin moves, time stops and a new story begins, echoes in the dark. The snippet from that late-night practice session went live at sunrise. Within minutes, the internet erupted. No flashy costumes, no stage lights, no heavy production. Just Jimin in a plain black hoodie, moving like a shadow weaving through light. The raw intensity of those 45 seconds blew past. Millions of views before most of the world had even poured their morning coffee. Comment sections flooded with a familiar, astonished question from newcomers and longtime fans alike. How does he make it look so effortless, yet hit so deep? By evening, the quiet studio was replaced by the chaotic energy of a packed international venue. The air inside was thick with anticipation, electric and heavy. This was no ordinary comeback. It was the first time Jimin would perform his new, self-composed piece live in front of an audience. Behind the heavy black curtains of the main stage, Jimin closed his eyes and took a slow, grounding breath. He placed a hand over his heart, feeling its steady, rapid rhythm. Years of record-breaking success had never erased the nervous butterflies before a show. But now those butterflies weren't born from fear. They were born from a deep, burning hunger to share his soul. The house lights plunged into pitch darkness. A collective gasp echoed through the stadium, followed by a wave of hushed silence. Clang! A single reverberating piano note shattered the dark. A sharp spotlight cut through the shadows, pinning Jimin right in the center of the stage. He was standing completely still, head bowed, his shadow stretching long across the floor. As the orchestral strings swelled, he moved. It was a performance unlike anything he had ever done. It wasn't just technical mastery. It was poetry in motion. When the beat dropped, his movements exploded with raw power, striking the air with razor-sharp precision. But during the quieter melodies, he drifted like a leaf on water, his expressions changing from fierce defiance to soft, heartbreaking vulnerability in a fraction of a second. He held the audience captive in the palm of his hand. People in the front rows weren't just cheering. Some were holding back tears, completely absorbed by the emotional gravity radiating off the stage. Near the end of the song, the music faded into a solitary, echoing vocal melody. Jimin leaped into the air, turning mid-flight as if suspended in time, before landing silently on one knee, his hand resting softly on the stage floor. For 2 long seconds, he stayed there, breathing heavily. Silence hung in the vast arena, frozen in awe. Then the stage lights flashed bright white, illuminating the ocean of faces staring up at him. The applause that followed was like thunder, shaking the very foundation of the building. Jimin slowly stood up, brushing his hair back, and looked out at the sea of glowing lights. The intense, dramatic performer disappeared instantly, replaced by a bashful, shining smile. He bowed deeply, holding his hands together in heartfelt gratitude. He didn't need to speak a single word of English to communicate with the world that night. Through his sweat, his movement, and his art, everyone in that room understood him perfectly. And as the curtain finally fell, one truth remained crystal clear. Park Jimin didn't just capture attention, he captured souls, one breathtaking stage at a time. The gold in the quiet, the thunderous roar of the crowd was still vibrating through the stadium walls as Jimin walked down the dimly lit backstage hallway. Sweat trickled down his neck, soaking through his velvet performance shirt. Staff members rushed past with towels, water bottles, and equipment. But around Jimin, time seemed to slow down. He stepped inside his green room, shutting the heavy door behind him. The sudden silence was almost jarring. He walked over to the vanity mirror, staring at his reflection. His hair was damp, his breathing gradually returning to a steady rhythm, and his eyes, the same eyes that had commanded 60,000 souls just moments ago, looked soft, reflective, and deeply human. He sat down on the leather couch, picked up his phone, and opened a live stream app. No management script, no grand production, no filter. Just Jimin sitting under the warm, simple lamp of his quiet room. Within 30 seconds, over 2 million people joined the stream from every corner of the earth. "Hi," he said softly, offering a small, tired, but genuinely happy smile to the camera. "Did you enjoy the stage today?" The chat box surged at a speed human eyes couldn't follow. Messages in English, Spanish, Korean, Arabic, and French scrolling past like a waterfall of light. He didn't need to translate every sentence to feel the warmth coming through the screen. For the next 20 minutes, the global superstar, who had just brought a stadium to its knees, chatted casually with his viewers. He laughed at silly comments, gently reminded everyone to eat well and stay warm, and honestly admitted how nervous he had been before the new choreography. That was the magic of Park Jimin. On stage, he was a mythical, or sort an untouchable storm of talent and grace that demanded the world's undivided attention. But offstage, he was an anchor of comfort, someone who made millions of strangers across the globe feel seen, valued, and safe. Before ending the stream, he leaned close to the camera, his warm eye smile lighting up the screen. "Thank you for being my strength," he whispered. "I'll keep working hard to be yours too." As the screen went black, millions of people around the world set down their phones with a soft sigh and a smile. Some would go back to their studies, some to their jobs, and others to sleep, carrying a little bit of his warmth into their own quiet lives. And that is why the world never stops watching Park Jimin, because in a world full of noise, his art isn't just something you see or hear, it's something you feel long after the lights go out, woven in the threads. Late the following night, far away from the screaming arenas, the real work began again. The hotel suite in New York overlooked a sprawling skyline of endless glass and amber lights. Inside, the room was quiet except for the low hum of an acoustic guitar demo playing on a laptop. Jimin sat cross-legged on the floor, notebook resting on his lap, a silver pen poised above a page covered in scribbles, crossed out lines, and half-formed thoughts Most people assumed that after a triumphant concert, an artist would celebrate. But for Jimin, the high of the stage always led back to the same place, a deep, reflective hunger to create something even more honest. He replayed the audio track. It was a melody he had hummed into his phone voice memos while staring out a plane window 3 weeks ago.